Hi, I'm Griffith Frank,
And I'm Lindsay Gitter.
and we are the writing team behind the new musical about self-help called It's Your Fault. And we would love for you to come see it, to look it up, to find more information about it, because we think it's pretty funny and we all want to laugh, especially when it comes to ourselves. So, hope to see you there.
And if you're interested in hearing more about it, please watch this video. I first fell in love with theater when I was in preschool, actually. My mom was directing a musical version of Alice in Wonderland, and I was too young to join. But I have a very, very vivid memory of peeking through the doors because I waited after school while they were rehearsing for her to take me home. And I would watch the rehearsals and the costumes and the lights, and I knew that I wanted to do it. So that's my earliest memory of falling in love with the theater and knowing that I wanted to be a part of it somehow.
And I first fell in love I more so fell in love with the audio experience of it. My parents gave me an album of Les Mis when I was I don't know, 9 or 10 or something like that, and I listened to that album so many times I could sing the whole show backwards. So that was really my first exposure to theater, also. And then I realized there was also on stage aspect to it too eventually.
So this is also kind of a funny story. So I graduated from NYU Tisch. That's my training. And part of how that school works is there's lots of different programs. So they have the Adler studio, the musical theater studio, the writing studio. And I auditioned for the musical theater studio, but I got into Playwrights Horizons, which teaches you everything. And at the time, I remember sobbing because I thought they don't want me to be a singer. I'm not good enough. Just all that stuff that young actors, all those horrible thoughts that run through our heads. And then when I got there, I took my first writing class and my first directing class, and I was thrown into design and just all the behind the table jobs. And I still look back on that year as some of the most fun I've ever had. And that was the first time that I realized, like, oh, they knew what they were doing when they put me here. And I haven't quite been able to stop. Like, even when I am cast in a project as just an actor, in the back of my mind, I'm making edits to the script. I'm thinking about the notes I'd want to give the actors. So that was another indication that I think I needed to do, sort of against my will. I needed to also be doing the creation process in addition to the performing.
And I sort of fell in love with I have been performing. I've been performing since I was 10, and that was a wonderful experience. And then I got more into songwriting eventually when I was in college, and got really heavily into that and sort of put theater aside for a while, as I just got so much into songwriting. And then a number of years after being involved professionally in songwriting, I got asked to sing a demo for this musical project that now a friend of mine was writing, and he's French, and the lyrics were a little bit stressed wise not working. So I said, do you mind if I just rearrange the words? I'm a songwriter. I could do this for you. And he said, sure. And he really liked what I did. And this began me basically adapting from an entire musical, a 3-hour epic orchestral musical that was pretty much through sung, writing lyrics for the whole show. And that began me sort of getting back into theater, but as a writer. And I loved the experience so much, and just the immense satisfaction and joy that I get from not only myself performing pieces that I've wrote, having other people perform them too is like nothing else. And that's become a huge goal of mine.
The theater experience is unique because it's live, right? Like, you're sharing space with someone, you're sharing breath with the people on the stage. Even if an actor goes in fully memorized, having done the show hundreds of times, you still, right before you step on that stage, you don't know what's going to happen, and neither does the audience. And that kind of electricity, you just don't get in the same way when you watch a film. What you're getting when you watch a film is someone else's perfectionism, right? They get to edit it, they get to craft it, they get to pick what scenes. Even the timing between the lines can be perfectly crafted from behind the scenes. But with theater, it's different every single night. And I feel like more and more, even with the introduction of AI, with the pandemic, that notion of sharing breath with someone is so rare, and you can only find that in the theater.
For me, what I love about theater is that it does stand on its own at its best, in my opinion, when it's doing what no other medium can do, which is to create a living, breathing moment that is impossible to halt or to capture, really. Because it is happening as you are watching it, and very few, I don't think anything else can replicate that, pretty much, because everything else is pre-planned, and you're, like Lindsay said, you're watching exactly what they want you to see. In the theater, you know, there's always that room for, it is what the audience will perceive, and you don't know how they're going to react, and there is a magic to that. And I was a little bit jaded on theater for a while, and then Lindsay showed me Indecent, and it blew me away, and I remembered why I loved theater so much, because of that uncapturable moment that you are participating in. It's so beautiful and moving in a way that nothing else is.
I think musical theater is so unique. Well, this is one of many, many, many reasons, but this is just the one that surfaced, because music can express what words cannot on their own. And I had a great acting teacher once tell me that the songs are the subtext. It's what you can't say out loud, so you sing it. And I feel like music is universal, even if you don't have lyrics, depending on the melody and the structure and the tempo, it's universal. Like you know, across all cultures, all languages, when a song is sad, or when a song is happy, or when a song is anxious. And that kind of communication just can't be, it's just not the same as just talking back and forth. And even plays that are translated, right? If you have a play translated from Spanish to English, something is lost in translation. But when you have a song, that I don't think as much is lost, because you have the music carrying that emotional reality to everybody who's listening.
And for me, what separates musicals is that, well, so, and this is more of a technical answer, because she'll answer with the artistic answer. For me, the technical thing is it builds in another layer of craft, of logic, of depth to the universe that you're in, and once again produces something that is unlike anything else. You are building in this very shared common experience. Everybody likes, I think most people like music, but I would say that most people have a form of music that they respond to. And so adding that in a very surreal way keeps it, when you're doing a play, I imagine, or a movie is like it, you're watching it and you're really supposed to suspend disbelief. With a play, okay, you're in this, what is on stage is probably not real, probably. And in musical theater, it's like we take that to an extreme, and the ability to do that well is so incredible. And I strive to do what the greats, even come close to what the greats have done, in terms of creating that ridiculously impossible experience and making you totally buy into it. Not only buy into it, empathize with it, connect with it. That's an incredible thing.
The idea for this musical,
It's Your Fault.
For It's Your Fault. So it's sort of a long story, but it's very silly. A friend of ours was performing in this showcase. So the way it works is every performer gets 10 minutes to show their work. Some people sang, some people did a monologue. It was 10-minute slots, kind of like an open mic. So we're all there expecting to see a play or a show or a song. And this guy comes up and he uses his 10 minutes to test drive life coaching skills. Like, he called on people from the audience and walked them through questions and claimed that in the 10 minutes he could change somebody's life. And I was
change their mind.
Change their something.
Change their mind.
It was weird. But that whole experience was so disarming. And when Griff and I were in the car driving on the way home, I said, that would be an amazing musical. I said, how amazing would it be if people went into thinking they were going to see a show and then they get sucked into this workshop? So that's kind of the origin of it. And the reason why I felt like we had to write it is being an artist in LA, I think there's a lot of good in the self-help world, and there's a lot of ick in the self-help world. There's a lot of people taking advantage. You don't need a license to be a coach, right? So a lot of my friends and colleagues and coworkers would get sucked into these workshops where they just climbed this ladder and paid more and more money. And it just felt like multi-level marketing, and they were just taking advantage of people at their most vulnerable. So this show felt like, yes, it's very silly. It's 100% a comedy. It's called It's Your Fault. We're taking that to an extreme. But at the same time, a lot of the content of the show is inspired and takes directly from some of these workshops.
Yeah.
So it's not too far from the truth of what's happening in some of these places.
And I think that it, for me, why it felt so important that we write this now is it is relevant and topical to the culture that we live in, where there's this sort of continual existential movement of people seeking out higher purposes or
Wellness.
goals, wellness. And when something like that is enforced, you got to make fun of it. You just have to.
Yeah.
And not because it's bad. There is amazing things with it. It's because it has to stand up to that. We have to be able to explore ourselves and topics like that. It's an important side of who we are and what we do as societies. So,
and it's good to look at that stuff with a critical eye, especially when that translates to puppets and poop jokes and just all the silliness of a musical comedy, of a farce, really.
So the musical begins with two life coaches, Pete and Robin, who are obviously in a little bit of a difficult situation when they first come out, but then they sort of, on their rocky start, begin this seminar that they've been running intro workshops for. And the intro workshop is, instead of being a play in Fringe, it's a transformational workshop where we've invited the audience to participate because they all want to change you want to change your life 180, all the stuff that isn't working, and and find out what your purpose is and why your family members won't take you seriously, etc. And then what goes from this
so basically it's the two life coaches, Pete and Robin, who are dating, are running this workshop because their book, It's Your Fault, Finding Freedom Through Pointing Fingers, is about to be released. So what should be this celebratory final workshop ultimately reveals the cracks in their relationship and the ways in which they're not following their own teachings. So by the end, we don't want to give away too much, but
let's just say it's flawed people trying to claim that they know everything.
Right. And trying to, and then, part of that process is walking people through the activities. So we can talk about the three pillars, I think. The three pillars are: it's your fault, don't trust yourself, and trauma doesn't matter. So those are kind of the three, twists on very classic, like you can create your own reality, like that kind of thing that we've turned into our dysfunctional
vibrate into the life that you want,
right.
And it can totally work for people. This isn't necessarily saying that all of that isn't,
that there
valid.
Isn't merit.
But at the same time, it's more about the people pushing this narrative. Like, well, who are they? Right. What are they even taking their own advice and exploring that? So for all of us, like, talking about it, we do. It is a gentle nudging at it. It's not, like I said, we're not taking down the wellness industry. It is very much
we've benefited from it.
Right, totally.
Like we have our people, our coaches, our therapists, and we meditate and we benefit from all of that. And I think because we see the good, when we see people who use that good to take advantage of other people, that's really what we're talking about. It's not necessarily the content itself. It's the coaches. That's really what we're commenting on.
So what we want the audience to get out of is a lot of fun. We want them to have tons of fun and laugh a lot. And then a little bit of introspection, like, well, what have I fallen for lately? What have I maybe bought into that sounds really good, but maybe doesn't hold up to some scrutiny? You know what I mean? What have I been listening to that at first was, I could go with, oh, but then when I think about it more, I'm going, well, I don't know about that. And then learning to trust the deeper sense of, not skepticism, but just learning to trust yourself more. So we hope to bring that to the audience, I think, for one. Really just the opposite of all the 3 pillars of the workshop.
And yeah, really, it's such a silly, silly show. I just, our opening night, we had so much laughter. And, when you're writing a comedy, you have to just trust your own taste, and you don't really know if it's funny until people laugh. So I think having that laughter and that joy and that silliness, and people participated more than we thought they would, which was such a wonderful surprise. So I think just having people leaving feeling joyful and silly, that's really the main goal. And then, just remembering that everybody who writes, like behind Atomic Habits is just a guy, behind The Power of Now is just a guy, behind The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up is a woman, is a person. They're all just people delivering these ideas that they've ultimately made up, So I'd like to think that after watching this, people will remember that and know that they're allowed to cherry pick. They don't need to trust an all-knowing guru to tell them what they need to do, that they already know, and it's already inside of them.
Like, what do we look forward to when we are performing? Well, definitely the laughter is awesome. Because we think it's funny, but if a person laughs in a forest and there's nobody around to, if a joke is made in an empty forest, nobody was around to laugh, is it funny? So having that feedback is really, really, it's a little bit gratifying, to be sure.
And it's certainly a relief when people laugh at the jokes. Yeah, I never grew up feeling very funny. We're both very serious Russian people. We have that like Eastern European severity running through our veins. And
so it was natural that we'd write a comedy.
Yeah. So I think this was sort of our, I feel like a beginner when it comes to comedy. So having people laugh at jokes that I've written, I never knew how much fun and how good that feels, and then just singing. I've always loved singing. My character truly breaks down. Like, her journey is so absurd and so ridiculous, and getting to play the extremes of emotions, like, you really only get to do that in comedy. Everything's at a 10, and getting to do that and then sing at the same time is just, I look forward to that every time. It's so fun.
It's definitely a fun piece to perform.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to freak out. That is
in a controlled environment, in a fishbowl. It's fun to freak out in a fishbowl when it's not real.
It's fun to freak out on purpose. Yes.
It's not real, and you've rehearsed your panic attack. It's great. I think people should go to our musical if they want to laugh. Yeah.
If they want to feel, if they want to really experience something that is poignant and funny.
Yeah, I think that what we've created is actually pretty unique. Obviously, it rests on the shoulders of all the other musical comedies that come before it, and content and things that we've watched. And people should definitely come to our show, because I don't think they've seen anything like this yet. And if you want something funny and light, and if you want to leave feeling elated and joyful, then definitely come to our show.
Yeah, and definitely we feel it is a mostly unique experience. It definitely has, because it's immersive and you're really part of it. It's not just a sit there and watch us. You really feel like you're in the action. It's a different experience.
House lights are on the whole time.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in it, in the workshop. I don't know why this feels so, it's really important, but Griff and I really do everything together. I think I'm just so proud of this collaboration. And for us, we split everything down the middle: book, lyrics, music, regardless of how the scales might tip at any given project. It's just important, I think, to just communicate that we are a team and we do everything together. And I'm just so grateful to have found such a wonderful co-producer, writing partner, collaborator, voice teacher, fiance, just see, we wear a lot of hats in this team.
Yeah, it is, it is fun. This is one of my favorite things to do in life, is to embark upon these creative endeavors and then see them take form is infinitely satisfying to me. So, I wish everybody the luck and the drive to find that for themselves,
Yeah.
because experiencing it, especially with somebody who you obviously are very closely connected to, is unlike many things in this life. So
Yeah. As my mom says, dare to suck. It's a lot harder to do something poorly than to just to not do it at all.
are you saying I suck?
No. I am Lindsay Gitter.
I'm Griffith Frank.
And please come join us for It's Your Fault, a new musical farce poking fun at the self-help world. We would love to see you there. See you at the theater.